Although nobody is completely certain where and when Halloween began, most historians agree that it originated in Ireland, more than 2,000 years ago. The Celtic festival called Samhain is believed to be the inspiration behind today's Halloween festivities. The Celtics believed that during Samhain, the veil between our world and the world of the undead came down so that all the people who had died the year before could move on to the afterlife. The Celtics celebrated this time by having feasts, making bonfires, and playing games. Harry Houdini, the Hungarian-born escape artist and illusionist, defied and escaped death many times. Ironically, his ultimate demise came on Halloween night in 1926. A student hammered him in the stomach one night in late October, before he was able to brace himself to properly withstand the blows. A fever took hold of him, as well as a serious case of appendicitis. Houdini continued to perform more shows, but a little more than a week later, on October 31st, he died from his injuries. No matter how scary your local haunted house is, it probably can't top the haunted cave in Lewisburg, Ohio. Measuring 3,564 feet long, the Guinness World Records has named it the world's longest haunted house. Even spookier, it's located 80 feet below the ground in an abandoned mine. This custom of trick-or-treating is thought to have originated not with the Irish Celts, but with a 9th century European custom called souling. On November 1st, All Souls Day, early Christians would walk from village to village begging for soul cakes, made out of square pieces of bread with currants. The more soul cakes the beggars would receive, the more prayers they would promise to say on the behalf of the dead relatives of the donors. At the time, it was believed that the dead remained in limbo for a time after death, and that prayer, even by strangers, could expedite a soul's passage into the afterlife. Despite outward similarities, sweet treats, skeletons, people in costumes, and other graveyard and death imagery, Halloween and the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, are very different holidays. While Halloween promotes fear of the dead, Dia de los Muertos celebrates the dead. The November 2nd holiday is the day for people in Mexico, parts of Central and South America, and increasingly throughout the United States, to honor their ancestors and loved ones who have passed away, and invite those spirits back into their homes to be part of the family once more. It's a tradition that dates back thousands of years to the Aztec people. But when the Catholic faith became entrenched in South America, the timing of the Festival of the Dead was changed to coincide with All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. This connection is part of the reason why people confuse the holidays. Back in the day, the Celts worried about bumping into ghosts they believe came back to Earth on Halloween. To avoid being recognized, people would often don masks when they left their home after darks in hopes the ghosts would mistake them for fellow spirits. These days, folks are willing to spend a bundle in their attempts to be mistaken for pop culture icons and internet memes. In total, Americans will spend $2.6 billion on costumes, with $1 billion on children's costumes, $1.2 billion on adult costumes, and $330 million on costumes for pets, according to the National Retail Federation. Princess, animal, and superhero costumes are the top 3 choices for kids, while pet owners say the top costumes are pumpkin and hot dog, with the devil and the cat tied at third. One major new trend in 2013 is an increase in do-it-yourself costumes. which the NRF attributes in part to the rise of Pinterest, which 9.3% of people surveyed say they plan to scour for inspiration. The average person will spend $27.85 on a costume, whether it be from the store or homemade. Do you know why we associate orange and black with Halloween? If we take a step into the world of feng shui, believers of the Chinese philosophical system will tell you that orange and black are on the opposite sides of the energy spectrum. Orange is warm, lively, bouncy, and it happens to represent the fall of harvest. Black, on the other hand, can be associated with mystery, secretive, and unknown, where anything might jump out and grab you. For the Celts, it signified the death of summer. According to Michael Downing, the author of Spring Forward, the annual madness of daylight savings time, the candy industry had a hand in changing the length of daylight savings time in order to sell more candy for Halloween. Candy makers were among the supporters of the Energy Policy Act of 2005, which shifted the end of daylight savings time from the last Sunday in October to the first Sunday of November, effectively giving trick-or-treaters an extra hour of daylight to gather sweets. To celebrate Samhain, the Druids built huge sacred bonfires, originally called bone fires, for after feasting, the bones were thrown in the fires as offerings for healthy and plentiful livestock in the new year. Worshippers also brought harvest food and sacrificed animals to share a communal dinner in celebration of the festival. If you believe everything you see in movies, there's always a full moon on Halloween. In reality, this event rarely occurs. The last full moon was on October 31st, 2001. But don't worry, the next full moon to fall on Halloween will happen in the year 2020. Recently, a couple days after Halloween, a mail carrier was making his rounds when he saw what looked like a fairly realistic dead body on a porch. Given the time of year, he decided that it was simply a Halloween decoration and went on his way without reporting it. He was horrified when he later discovered it was actually the body of a man that had collapsed just hours prior. The family was distraught and felt the mailman should have done something. This is not the first time something like this has happened. Several years ago, in a small suburban neighborhood, the neighbors noticed an extremely realistic corpse hanging from a tree. Many people drove right by it, thinking it was just a Halloween decoration. The neighbors were shocked when the police investigated and found it to be the body of a woman who had just committed suicide. More recently, in an apartment complex in Los Angeles, the tenants ignored a very realistic dummy that looked like it had been shot in the eye. What the neighbors believed was a Halloween decoration turned out to be a corpse that was allowed to decompose for almost a week. The police ruled it as a suicide. I hope each and every one of you enjoyed these 10 lesser-known facts about Halloween. And I hope you have a very scary, happy Halloween.